Welcome to another episode of the podcast Sigträffar. Today the title is Crucified under the Tree of Terror. Well, you probably guessed it right. It is about the sacrifice of Odin, the recovered magical runes, the path of the warrior hero, and about our homeland. Enjoy! On the Tree of Terror, that windy tree, he crucified himself to himself for 9 nights. No bread, no drink from the horn was given him. He's the hanged man, upside down, wounded by the spear. He must pierce through the boundaries of death, arriving on the other side in the world of the gods. Downward he gazed, screaming. He took back the runes from where they were lost. He sings the song of the High One. Odin sacrificed himself to himself, henceforth resurrecting from a voluntary death. The mumbling secrets of mysteries, the enigmatic magic signs that impregnate matter with magic vibrations, the runes that makes the synchronization visible. He took it all back. The Vala said in Voluspa that the warrior must know the runes to have victory and to be protected. She mentioned different kinds of runes: birth runes and wave runes and branch runes, speech runes, even thought runes. She never told us, but we do understand anyway. The runes is a secret language, like ancient mudras or mantras, embedded with a cosmic code of cipher, belonging to the awakened blood of the forefathers, which lives in us. The runes shall enable the warrior to tune that unique key or tone within, to vibrate in the highest pitch, and thereby the warrior shall recognize the danger intuitively and act in wisdom from heart and emotion and intellect. The blood memory shall guide the warrior home. The runes were lost in the catastrophe of the homeland, but they were discovered by Odin upon the world tree and rediscovered for such a time as this. Entropy and involution is at hand, and enclosed is the gradual decline of the world as we know it. Lack of order or predictability, a gradual decline into disorder. And what is involution? Some have described it as mankind regressing to an animal-like state. A new cycle, the turning of the great wheel, and the point of no return seem to be at hand. In Norse mythology, we would say it is the last battle of Vigrid, also called the Twilight of the Gods, gudarnas sista öde. The battle of Ragnarök is near. Heimdall, he will blow Jallarhornet, and the roaster Gyllenkammen on Valhall's roof shall crow. The resurrected heroes of Odin shall march out, 800 enherjare at a time, through these 540 doors, in the gold-adorned Gladsheim, that's the building in Valhall. And the hero is presented a last, most dramatic path to step out of Valhall's circle of circles. Come, let us wage the final battle, the final combat, to free the world from the evil one. The myth and legends tells us that the second earth appeared and the involution of the Kali-Yuga cycle started. The world entered a deconstruction process where chaos, war, crimes, death, and suffering became reality. According to Hindu scriptures, Kali-Yuga is the world age that is darkest among all the ages, and Kali entails battle and disagreement and disharmony. Kali, or also called Kalika in Sanskrit, it's a Hindu goddess, and she is the destroyer of evil forces. But she's also a divine protector of the innocent and the ones who bestows liberation. Her name means the fullness of time. The legend also talks about that at the end of time, Maya, the earth, is ruled by leaders influenced by a demiurgic force, holding the world in an illusion of being good and even holy. The poets have declared now there is no more time left, and we are too far into Kali-Yuga. And Kali, also called the Queen of Sheba, she will produce an overall catastrophe. This is the fullness of time. It's here now. But the poets have also seen the light from the north that shall never be extinguished. This light is the strongest in the darkest midnight. Friedrich Nietzsche, he puts it this way about the north. He said, "Beyond the north, at the eyes of death, our life and good fortune have discovered felicity. We know the way. We found the escape from entire millennia of labyrinths." Well, we could very well find ourselves at the hour of midnight, at the beginning of the end of the Kali-Yuga cycle. It's about cycles that is symbolized by wheels, big wheels and smaller wheels. The wheel of the year, for instance, it looks like a cross with a circle, and it represents the 4 precise turning points of the times and the seasons of the year, the 4 astrological events related to the moment at which the center of the visible sun is directly above the equator. I'm talking about the winter solstice and spring equinox, summer solstice and fall equinox. We are very familiar with the wheel of the year up here in Scandinavia, where we have the 4 seasons, and we celebrate them really. The ancient esoteric symbol and religious icon found in civilizations around the world is another rotating wheel. It's the Swastika, and in several Indo-European myths and The swastika symbolize the lightning bolts, representing the thunder god Thor, Zeus and Indra, and even Jupiter. The counterclockwise left-rotating swastika is symbolizing the night and tantric aspects of Kali, the destroyer of evil forces. In Norse cultures, the left-rotating swastika was a symbol of auspiciousness and good luck, and we can find such symbol in the Viking ships found in the burial mounds. In other mythologies, the left-rotating swastika is a symbol for the path and journey back to our homeland, Hyperborea. Now let's talk about Hyperborea. Pindar, he wrote, "Neither by ship nor on foot would you find the marvelous road to the assembly of the Hyperboreans." And Apollo, he's called Hyperborea, the edge of the earth. The ancient legend of the Hyperborean continent was also mentioned again by Nietzsche. And he said, "Let us face ourselves. We are Hyperboreans. We know very well how far off we live." The continent were depicted on maps from the 1500s, but then they were removed. The ancient Celts and the Vikings, they knew that the homeland of their white gods was in this ancient transoceanic land of the polar continent, located at the North Pole, where the midnight sun shines on the river of liquid gold. They were told the light descended from the pole star like a fire disk beyond the north wind and created Hyperborea. And the white gods came from the sun on the other side of the suns, and they were called the walkers of the dawn, where the northern light and the aurora borealis, the green light, abode. The legend also say that from there originated the bearers of a divine light. But when the northern continent of Hyperborea perished in a catastrophe, the legends say that some of the gods withdrew in the inner earth and others to a transoceanic continent in the west, Atlantis, where the sun from the Golden Age had not yet set. With the loss of the Golden Age, the rotational movement of the earth was broken, sinking Hyperborea. So the ancient Celts and the Vikings, they never reached their homeland. They never entered the enchanted city, where the climate was lovely and mild. But throughout the ages, the path of the hero have continued, and the dream and the longing of the warrior to reach his homeland have never ceased. The warriors awakened and began to sense that they did not belong to this fallen and miserable world of death, but instead their true nature made them remember their origin, their homeland beyond the stars. It is said, having awakened from the demonic illusion of this world in which they found themselves trapped, they now were able to be guided by their own true nature back to the destiny of hero, the process of unleashing themselves from the demiurgic illusion. But who shall guide the hero on his path, on their path? Goethe said, "The eternal feminine leads us to heaven." It is the beloved Valkyrie, the Maga priestess, who shall initiate the warrior into magic love and sacred marriage. She hands him the golden apples of eternal life and resurrection. Apple symbolizes eternal youth and health and enlightenment, and is given by the goddess Idun in Norse mythology. The Valkyrie shall thereby lead the warrior home, and he is by no means on his own, but he will have to learn how to listen to his inner voice from where she will guide him. This initiation rite is called Hyperborean initiation of Amor. Amor means no death, non-death. It breaks the circle of return and it leads to immortality. Because it is said, we are warriors from a most holy of wars, from a mythical, eternal, cosmic war. Throughout the Indo-European mythologies and cultures, there have been these sacred initiation rites, namely the marriage between the goddess, the divine goddess, and the battle-tired warrior or the wounded king, whereby the alchemical transformation of the warrior took place to becoming the hero or Vira. The initiation rite is called hieroskamos, or sacred marriage, and it's also done with the purpose of capturing divine sanctions through invocation of the goddess. In other words, to gain favor from the fertility goddess and to enable the king and his kingdom and his land to prosper. There is an historical example of a king not finding favor from the goddess. It's the last Swedish pagan king Domalde. He was by his own will sacrificed in the last heathen temple of Uppsala. His rule was marked by bad crops and starvation. There is a saying, the luck of the king is the luck of the land. And there is a portrait by Swedish artist Carl Larsson. It's called Midvinterblod, about this event when the king was sacrificed in the temple. It can be found in the National Museum in Stockholm. So back to the Valkyries, guiding the hero on his path. The Valkyrie, the goddess, has, as I have mentioned, she is the soul driver in the hero's mind and dreams. She will guide him from the battlefield to his homeland, for she is born of Hyperborea, and she keeps in contact with the point of origin. She is the priestess of magic love, and she possessed the power of ether. She is the choser of the slain, the leader of the Valkyries. In Norse mythology, she is Lady Freyja. And, well, she have many names. She is High Priestess and Blodgudja in the High Hall. She is the Vanadis, as old as the universe itself. She's a fate goddess. She is called Gullveig, who was burned and pierced 3 times and yet was reborn thrice. She is Gunnlöd, who kept the mead, Hydre and Brynhild, the seers of what is to come. She is the lady of the mead and the giver of the liquor of the memory of immortality. And this is called the myth of eternal life. It's also called the great secret law or the stone of change. in the end, when the Kali-Yuga cycle is about to close, the boundaries between the worlds shall disappear, and we shall discover there are worlds outside the world that we live. I'm talking about the material world, where time and natural laws do not apply. It is said that the ancient noble had direct access to the astral world, where every knowledge is made available. They did not need to have physical records, such as writings. The concept of astral traveling and shape-shifting is not foreign to us in Norse myths and sagas. The archetypes were constantly transforming and transporting themselves. But we most likely never thought that we would do it ourselves. But now we live in the end of Kali-Yuga, so things are gonna happen to us. Very exciting times, I would say. I am also reminded of Freyja's astral projections. In Swedish we call it fallkamn, where she shapeshift and she possesses a shamanic feather cloak when traveling into other worlds. She even lent it out to Loki. And Loki, he also shapeshift. He shapeshift into a flea, and he was able to fly through Freyja's impregnable walls. No one was supposed to be able to go in there, but he did. And did some funny things, but you can read about in the Eddas. But he also shapeshift into a salmon. And Odin, he shapeshift into an eagle. In Heimdall, he shapeshift into a seal. There were many examples where the archetypes transformed into other shapes and traveled to other worlds. There are conventional technology that coexist with other unconventional technologies. We know of examples in Hindu, Greek, and Norse mythology of flying chariots that are used by the gods as they are being transported in the air. And these wheeled chariots in the heavens are pulled by animals. In Norse mythology, for instance, I'm thinking of Freyja's chariots pulled by her 2 cats, and Thor's chariot was driven by the 2 goats. It is interesting to note that ancient Vedic texts mention mythological flying aircrafts that are called vimanas and are made of a noble yellow metal found in Atlantis called orichalcum. And this precious metal, orichalcum, have mysterious powers to neutralize gravity. So this is not only mythology, this is technology. And there are books that can be found in PDFs and that explain this technology. The name of this metal is derived from Greek with the meaning mountain copper. And these ancient flying machines are said to be able to fly within the Earth's atmosphere and into space and underwater. The Greek author Homeros, who, by the way, according to traditions, was the author of the classical heroic poem The Iliad and the Odyssey, he said that these flying vimanas traveled through the skies and they captures the thoughts and the feelings of humans. And according to ancient Greek myth, these magic vimanas, they rise through the skies, defying all rational logic, emitting a sound like melodious music. I found that very interesting. And the question is, can we hear such sound, or can we hear any cosmic sound or tones or rhythm or music with our intuitive senses, our inner ability? It's funny again with Friedrich Nietzsche. He said, and those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. So obviously there is music that some can hear and others cannot. Are we even aware of a sound or a keynote that we ourselves transmit? Well, let me tell you, Esoterica tells us all beings from the gods to mankind possess a sound, an essential name, a keynote, and by discovering this note or name, one acquires the power to recreate and decompose. It is a mantra of voluntary death and resurrection. You alone can find this hypnotic repetition of the mantra. You will find it by traveling towards the past, like those birds which meet in the middle of the ocean, having flown from opposite continents, in the sea of death, in the register of Father Ether. A mantra of voluntary death and resurrection. Well, let me tell you about another divine language. It's called the awakened blood of destiny, and that whispers secrets of the hearts into the ear of the hero. Then he is awakened, and he remembered the great thirst of the pilgrim of the dawn. It is said like this about remembrance: I remember nothing with a conscious, rational mind, but with my blood, with the blood memory, with my cells and with my genes, I shall remember. So when the hero rediscovers that which was lost, he becomes a poet and a troubadour. He shall understand that the pilgrimage he is on exists both in the outer and in the inner world. The realization of both worlds, so to speak, they coincide. One can say that they occur simultaneously. In fact, eventually, both of the worlds will become equally real. It is said, what is below is above, and what is within is without. This is the synchronicity of which two worlds are reunited. Esoterica tells us how advanced the hero, the Vira, can become in this activity. It says like this: the hero shall cross from one world to another world, directed by his will. And as he projects himself away from his physical body and through the astral tube by the rotating of the leftward rotating Swastika, he shall become the Lord of the two worlds. How will the hero possess such power to travel out of time and out of worlds? We need not to worry about the how. It cannot be understood by our logic mind. But we do know that the time is here, and the blood memory is awakened, and through Muspelheim's fire and Niflheim's eyes, shall the Valkyrie and the awakened blood memory guide the hero back to his homeland. But remember, this esoteric path and knowledge is only for those who understand that the incarnation in the eternal return is our field of combat. And the sacrifice is directed to ourselves. Just like Odin crucified himself on the tree of terror, he dedicated himself to himself. This is what the journey is all about. For the Selbst is the ultimate ideal center of being, and with Tantric Magus the path of the hero shall completely be reversed. The Grail, which is the eternal mead of immortality given by the goddess, shall awaken the Midgård serpent and the Kundalini powers within and reactivate the divine knowledge of the runes. And the son of magic, death and immortality will then become the absolute man, the twice-born noble, and thereby finalize the process of Ouroboros, which is the eternal return. So the end of Kali-Yuga and the entry into a new golden age depends on the results of our war, what we do. And Kalika, or Kali, the divine protector of the innocent, well, she is also the destroyer of the evil forces, have now set all in motion. All have now been said that shall be said, and all have been done that shall be done. That's how late the time is. Lastly, I'd like to read a poem from the German poet Friedrich Hölderlin. He lived between 1770 and 1843. The children of the Golden Age wander far away through the land of their fathers, forgetting the days of destiny somewhere else. And no longing can make them return. Shall my eyes never see them? Shall I never find them on the thousand paths of the verdant earth on which they are sought? Their faces equal to the gods, and I understand by luck their language, their legend only for my soul to seek their shadows. I want to get close to them wherever they dwell. Yet, through their forest, where the peak is hidden among the clouds, solitary the holy mountain, where I want to go, when shining in the shade of the holm oak, I shall meet the fountain of origin. O thou sleepers, O holy shades, with you I want to live. Thank you for listening to the podcast Sigdrifa. The title of this talk was Crucified on the Tree of Terror.